Now, government has been advised to seek economic assistance program from the International Monetary Fund to bring back life into the economy. Former Finance Minister Tekwe recently urged government to consider a homegrown or external program to revitalize the economy, which has been saddled with high debt and financing gap. Now, the rippling effects are high fuel prices and increase in the cost of living. Head of Finance at the Valley View University, Dr. Williams Pepper, joins me for some more on this. Great to have you on the program tonight. So, why is going back to the IMF an option at all?
Improve.
Good evening, Daryl. Thank you very much. Daryl, I am making this assertion based on government budgets and government shortfall in raising domestic funds, specifically with the Treasury bill borrowing. The first quarter of this year, government realized that it couldn't raise the 6.3 billion that he wanted to raise with the Treasury bill. Looking at government budgets, government said the revenue generation for 2021 will be 72 billion. When it comes to government expenditure, item 1, which is salaries and wages, was projected at 25.5 billion. This amount is equivalent to what government projected to borrow locally or within the country, which is 25.5 billion. So simply put, government is matching the Treasury bill borrowing to pay for item 1 expenditure in the country. Once there is a shortfall in the borrowing for the first quarter, it gives a signal that government will struggle to find money to take care of that line of expenditure. If you look at the budget, government said that 35 billion will be used in paying interest. Already, we are aware that our interest payment is very high. It means that government has no option to go and borrow at a higher cost to finance its activity in 2021. The only institution we know in the world that can bring this, give us cheaper source of funds to support this shortfall of liquidity or funds is only IMF. So that is why I am saying that government must go back to IMF with a program to be able to take care of its expenditure.
I'm sure most people would be disappointed because just recently we were celebrating our divorce with the IMF. Tell us what an economic assistance program would entail.
Okay, so normally we know that the strategy of IMF, when they come, they will first look at your productivity. Research done by Professor Boateng confirmed that in Ghana, there is a mismatch already in between our public service and their productivity, meaning that our public service, the numbers there are huge. So definitely, IMF will tell you to cut down on your labor force, which happened during the last administration. And also, government will be asked to reduce this program, developmental programs. If you look at the developmental program government is envisaged to do in 2021, most of them are not projects that are going to bring in income. The government is focusing on roads. So unless government decides to fix more road tolls, booths on the road to collect levies, but we know that the revenue from road tolls will not be able to pay for any program like this. And thirdly, government will be asked to cut back on its normal expenditure, and it means that the country will shrink a little bit. IMF normally is a fund that will help you to be disciplined. We know that during the election period, government overspent. As for COVID, the COVID expenditure from what the government mentioned wasn't a major deviation from its pattern. The major deviation was from the election period where government spent a lot. And in history in Ghana, there has been a correlation that anytime we finish our election, we go back to IMF. So this call should not be government. This is what we have been doing as a country all the time.
And I guess it's the optics that government would like to prevent, right? You talk about the fact that we go back to the IMF always after every election. I don't think they want to be seen as doing that. And so What does it say? Or does it say that government has done a bad job at fixing the economy? Should they go to the IMF? Because that would be the perception.
Well, let me say that government tried to raise funds with the Japan. If government would have gotten that funds from the Japan deal, this situation have been normalized because they were going to bring about 500 million USD, which failed. So government must either decide to go and borrow from bond market, and that would be too expensive. And where can you get cheaper source of funds? You go to IMF with the perception that countries going to IMF means that you are not self-disciplined, should be taken out, because the purpose of IMF is to support countries in terms of distress. And our country is experiencing liquidity shortfall. So we are members, we pay our dues. So we should go there, and the Ghanaians should not, I don't want to say use our politics, but the economy well. If that is what government fears, well, the government must change because IMF is not set for countries that has failed, but IMF is set to give funds to countries to bring them up to normality. So that is where the problem is. It shouldn't be a problem that going to IMF means that government has failed. If you look at government programs, most of the government programs are still running. The free SHS is going on, the developmental project, one district, one factory is going on. But what is happening is that government will need money. And we are not in a position to borrow at a higher cost again. So that perception must be taken off.
And this week we have seen the taxes kick in. That has also affected the price of fuel. We expect every other thing to go up, taxes on businesses and all of that. And there's an uproar, public uproar following these taxes. And that is also expected to affect the cost of living. I'm just wondering, though, how effectively these taxes are going to help the economy.
I think government said that he wanted to share the cost of COVID so that everyone will pay. That is, I'm quoting the finance minister. But if you look at it, Ghanaians are saying that the taxes have gotten to a point where they cannot sustain. So what it means is that our funds are going to be limited. And already Ghanaians are giving a signal by not investing in treasury bills. It means that Ghanaians are also going to have an attitude not to pay their taxes. So if you look at what this gives to us, it's pointing to the fact that government must think outside the box and find ways to raise money. So what situation we want to do, government could have decided that we will not increase our taxes, but rather go and borrow or go with a program to IMF. But government at the time of budget decided he won't go to IMF. But now it is catching up on us because the funds are still not coming. So we have to go. Unless maybe, I'm sure maybe government will have another program that he is thinking of, or something that they don't want to tell us where they are going to get funds from. But we know in the world, the cheapest place will be IMF.
Now it appears it's going to be the taxes. Thank you so much, Dr. Williams Pepra, who is head of finance at the Valley View University. Well,